That's right.
All right, call the order, I guess, who's here, me and Steve?
Yep,
Do we do this for pledge allegiance?
if you want to.
That was bypass that one. All right, roll call, got it, approval of the agenda,
Motion to approve.
all support say aye. Aye. Public comment, there is none, so fiscal year 2023 budget amendment number 2.
All right, well, you have before you a budget amendment. It's our final amendment. We hope it's our final amendment to the budget of the current year, which ends on September 30th. This is routine, nothing really riveting in here. It balances and, I
Why
do
we
have the-
amending?
because we have to move money around. We have, deviations that, you know, we say how much money we're gonna spend in each bucket of each budget. And we have a deviation that we have to stay in the allowance of, so we always do a budget amendment to correct for that. And there's also some things in here that, you know, we didn't know when the last budget was put together.
What are those things? Can you point one of those out for me, just
Yeah.
as a for instance?
I can do that right now too, since I'm a little more.
You go right ahead,
I put this
Renee.
thing together, so. Well, so we get more money sometimes on a grant. So for instance, if you look at the workforce development grant, they gave us a certain amount of money and said, hey, you can split this between 2 years. Well, then they're like, the money expires on September 30th, so, we just have the whole dollar amount, what we didn't spend last year and the remaining of this year, so.
Okay,
it's-
so where do I see that here?
If you were to go, I guess you can see it in 2 different spots.
Under
if
health
you're-
promotion, right?
Yeah, if you go on to page 3, I guess that would be a place to look at it. Go to, program 355. And it's in the middle section under prevention services.
Yeah, it's kind of right in the middle.
I'm having trouble finding page 3.
Well, they're back and front and back, so.
Well, and it says page 3 at the
Yeah,
bottom
the
right-hand
bottom.
corner. It says, you know,
Should be your first page you go
finance
to.
committee meeting, page 3.
Got it.
And if you were to look
Turn it
at,
back over.
Yeah, and then kind of like right in here, there's,
Yeah.
the REs are listed, so look for 355.
and if you were to look at the difference.
Okay, see it right there.
So if you look at the difference, it says $158, $1,000. So our amended budget, the grant was for $172. We just increased it because that was what we did last year. And by amendment 2, we kind of have a better understanding of what we didn't use last year and what the state says you can use this and it needs to be done by so, and then same thing with like our area on aging, that grant, they give them sometimes certain money. They didn't have their ARPA approved yet of what the final amount that was gonna be rolled over, and they finally got that approval, I think, about a month ago.
So is that item 12 then?
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
just, it's a matter of just, we've had grants where, and then our marijuana grant, we usually get it every year, but we don't put it in our original budget because we don't technically have it approved. Yes, we know we're gonna get it, but it's not really approved. So by amendment 2, we know we have it, it's approved, and then it will be put in there.
Yeah, so on this sheet that you're looking at, this page 3, the green column is what we're changing to, that's the current amendment. And then the column all the way to the right is what the last amendment was, so this is what we are currently using and we want to change to. And then the column in between those is the difference. So it tells you if a budget, a program budget went up or down from where we are today to what we're changing to, which was in the green.
Okay.
So the red is actually a minus.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
moving
Okay.
money out of that program and readjusting to another place in the budget.
Is there anything drastically we should see?
The only one I would see is the one I was pointing out, that 355, and I mean, to us, that's not drastic, but it's just because they said, hey, this money needs to be used by September, so.
Are we gonna be able to spend it?
Probably not.
Probably not, yeah.
So then that money goes back?
Yep.
Yes.
But most of all COVID stuff will be up this year anyhow, right? 'Cause it's no longer around.
No, we still have COVID money for next year. They still are giving
We'll
us-
have COVID immunization money and COVID infectious disease prevention money.
Yeah, they've decreased it, not by a huge amount, but they have.
Where does that come from?
The COVID money,
Yeah.
it's federal grants that are passed through the state.
Is it FEMA?
No. No, it's not FEMA money. Thank
All right.
goodness, because FEMA money comes with a lot of reporting requirements.
And
Right.
We had some FEMA money.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and it was a nightmare.
It was, they want everything. Every receipt, everything.
They've even asked for our firstborn children, so we
Right.
gladly gave them.
So the total difference here that I'm looking at is 473,000.
Yes.
And if you flip to page 12, you'll see kind of in the right-hand side of the page in 12 in the colors, that's gonna tell you where the money comes from. And you will notice that there's $163,000 in this budget that's coming out of the designated fund balance. And that is money that can only be used on certain things, it's designated, so.
Okay.
You wanna move this to Thursday?
Do I want to move it to Thursday?
Yeah. Support it, move it?
Recommend that the full board approve it?
Yes, I would move to send this to the full board for approval.
And I'll second that, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And 2024 original budget.
Okay, and this is the same kind of format. This is our budget for the year that will start October 1st. There is a lot of information that we just don't know yet. So this, we have to present a budget to you. We have to present a budget to the state with half the information. So this is a balanced budget. It is, you'll notice, different from before. And on page 15, you'll notice you have, in the green columns, you have Amendment 2, which is what you just moved forward, and Original, which is what will be starting October 1st. And you'll see that the original is much less than the amendment. And that's because we don't know all of the money that we are going to have, for sure, like Renee was talking about. Sometimes we just don't even know what our awards are gonna be yet. So we put this budget together, this will be our budget that will go into the new fiscal year, and then we'll do a budget amendment, usually in January for this, to bring it to something that's more realistic, because right now there's just a lot of things that we don't know.
This is next year.
This is next year's,
Right.
for the year starting October 1. It does balance. It does come with a little bit of designated fund balance, but not as much as in Amendment 2. And we will continue to hone this as we, get more information, but
So are you looking to, what are you asking from the counties this year? Because last year was 515, 513.
yep,
Is that the same way you're coming back again this year for?
we will be asking for an increase in appropriations.
Okay.
No, the county can tell us no, but we will be asking for an increased appropriations. Obviously, our expenses have
Is
gone
that
up.
in here somewhere?
It is not in this original yet, because we don't have any idea if we'll be granted that increase. So we will ask for that increase, and if we are granted it, it would be placed in
The amendment?
the amendment number
And when
1.
would you ask for that increase?
We generally start laying the groundwork for that, I think, in October, because it might be September. I'll have to look, because that's when the counties are doing their budgets, because their budgets are on a calendar year, not a fiscal year, where our budgets are on a fiscal year. But counties do their budgets on a calendar year, so they're usually working on their budgets. I know we have a meeting with Administrator Norman in Branch County. I know Rebecca has reached out to St. Joseph County and to Hillsdale County on budget talks, just to start the conversation, because they're just starting to put their budgets together for their January 1st budget.
All right.
So what's a percentage of increase that you'll be asking for? Any idea, roundhouse figure?
Generally, we don't ask for a percentage increase. We do a per capita funding dollar amount for how we are funded per person. And the last several years, we've asked for 15-cent increments, so 15 cents per person in the county. Last year, we only asked for 13 cents because of the census data.
I was just gonna say, is that on census data?
Yeah, it is. And so last year, it generally equals out to about $6,000 or $8,000 for Hillsdale and Branch County, and then a little bit more than that for
And no, the
St. Joe
Green's not
County.
included. Remember you were talking about that.
Well, thank you for that information.
All right.
But this original budget also does not include any increases to wages for cost of living, because there's no way to make it balance right now with the information that we
But
have.
we vote on that in November.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, this is a budget, it's balanced. It is not a complete picture of what we expect for next year, because we still don't have all the information.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
don't know if the state's gonna come back and say, oh, you know, that money you didn't use last year, we'll roll it over for you, so.
Right.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
happens.
Or not give it to you at all.
Or, yeah.
yeah. I mean, we don't have all of our notices of awards for all of this stuff. And also, you know, you have in this, I think it's the Senate had approved in their budget that they're working on right now up at the state, $14 million increase to ELPHS, or Essential Local Public Health Services budgets. And then the House, I think, had $30 million in their budget for an increase to local public health. And we don't know what the reconciliation will look like, if we'll get 14, if we'll get 30. I mean, we won't get it specifically, but spread out between local public health, or if there'll be none at all. We don't know what that budget's gonna look like. So, you know, stay tuned is all we can do at this point.
Well, at this point in time, I'd recommend changing your name from Branch Hillsdale St. Joseph Community Health Center to Ukrainian Health Center, and you'll probably get billions of dollars.
More money. More money.
Huh? Problem solved?
Yeah.
There you go.
Didn't think of that.
So you wanna, move this original
I would-
2024 budget,
I would move this budget
working
to,
budget? All
to
right.
Thursday also for the,
And I'll second, and I'll support, and say, hey. All right. How about the Sturgis office? What you going there, doing there?
Yeah, so the Sturgis office, you know, we have been we opened up a satellite clinic over there in 2017 at Maple Crest Plaza, and it's in a location that's also known as the Medical Commons 2. And we're really committed to having that presence there. We found that the space wasn't really big enough to see the amount of clients that we were wanting to see there. And so we worked with the board and the landlord, and we, in 2020, approved an expansion of that space by 969 square feet, or by 629 square feet. And that brings our total to about just less than 1,600 square feet. And then there was an agreement made in March of this year that we would help pay for some of that build-out cost. The build-out is estimated to be $32,000, and we, as a board, agreed to take on up to $10,000 worth of that cost to help the landlord. This space is, it was a very, very busy medical commons with the hospital closing, and there's not nearly as many tenants there. The landlord is asking for some assistance from us, and they would like to open up the lease that we currently have and change that from a gross lease to us paying the triple net cost, which equal about $1.50 a square foot. And that would cover the last 4 remaining years of the lease. It also, they would also like to strike out the section 5 of the contract about insurance, and then also change the burden of the utilities to the health department. This is a compromise deal. We have a long-standing relationship with this landlord. They have been very good to us. We only opened this office in 2017, but previously we had space in another one of their facilities years before, and they've always been very good to us. And we feel like, as a compromise, we could and take on those additional expenses for the remainder of this lease. And even if we take on those expenses, it does not equal the amount of capital improvement that she's putting into our space. So it is kind of a compromise. She's asking for assistance with us. We still feel like it's kind of a fair deal. We don't
So-
obviously have to. We have a lease, but we don't want to jeopardize our long-standing relationship with this landlord, who we feel has been fairly good to us. If you look at page 28, it goes kind of the opposite orientation. What you're talking about basically in the charge for square footage is we are in year 7, or on July 1st begins year 7 of this 10-year lease. And you're talking about $200 extra a month for the landlord in the triple net costs to pay for, the insurance and the building expenses there. And then we would also have additional costs in the gas bill and utilities.
If you think it's a good deal,
We think it's a fair compromise.
I mean, really, he's a landlord, he loses tenants, so we shouldn't have to be paying for his losses.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been very good to us throughout the years. Like I said, we've been in there since 2017, and prior to that, we had a building on, over by the railroad tracks, where they were very good landlords to us there. They've always been very reasonably priced and helped us when, we needed some assistance to maintain a presence there. So we feel like it's a fair trade.
Okay, so I have a question about the insurance. Who's picking up the insurance then?
So the insurance is part of the triple net cost.
Okay,
So there would not be any additional cost for us. It would be part of the $1.50 per square foot triple net cost.
I move that we take this to the board Thursday.
okay, I will second that motion.
Now, say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sure there'll be some questions Thursday.
I'm sure there will,
Yes.
and I will do my best, very best to answer them.
Right.
But, I mean, it isn't the perfect situation. Obviously, the perfect situation is we don't open this lease up and we keep paying what we're paying. But we don't want to jeopardize our relationship with them, and, my feeling is, we're
Well,
either
it
gonna pay
seems
for
like
it
to-
now, or we're gonna pay for it in 4 years when they readjust our rent.
It seems like to me like even with the addition of it, the additional cost, it's still a fair rent.
It is, we
If
feel like that
If you
too.
move into another facility, you're gonna have all kinds of stuff stacked up on top of it,
Right,
right? I mean, you're already established, right?
yep,
Just the move alone would cost the difference of what
right,
this is gonna be.
yeah. No, we feel like it's a good deal, and we feel like we have a good relationship with that landlord, and that
Okay, well.
It's a nice compromise.
I guess the only thing to do then is answer the questions the board's gonna have.
Yep. All right, and the last thing on the agenda today is the MERS actuarial report. This comes every year in early June, so we did receive it a week ago, and I have provided it for your reading pleasure. The exciting part about it is on page 34 of the packet, which would be page 6 of the report. We went from 93% to 94% funded in our pension plan. Now, I am not gonna tell you that I totally understand everything that's in here that actuaries do. And as a result of that, we have invited Marnie Daggett, who is our MERS regional rep, area rep, to do a presentation for the full board in July. We couldn't get her into the June meeting, so she'll be here to July to talk this over and explain it all to the board. So I will, if you have questions, I will make sure she addresses those questions when she comes here. But overall, we didn't lose, it's not as good as we wanted it to be, but we didn't really lose ground either, which is good considering what the market did.
Right.
So, I
And
mean.
we gave quite a bit of money the last 2 years to that.
Yeah, you can see the contributions on page, if you look at page 45 of the packet, it's table 5. Then the second, or actually it's the third column, where it says employer contributions additional, that details out the extra money that we've sent them that's sitting in that surplus fund. So we have made huge commitment to get this pension plan funded fully. And, you know, we're seeing the results of that. That's why we're at 94. If you look at just the pension without looking at the additional funding, how that affects the funded percentage, it is, I think, 73%.
Yeah, we're getting there. Do we have any COVID money we could use that we have to burn?
Yeah, we can't send COVID money to them.
I thought I'm payrolling that.
No, we can't send the COVID money to them as for the unfunded liability.
Well, how do we have so much money to send before that?
Well, because we were not spending our local dollars because we had
Had
COVID
COVID,
money that was
so-
covering.
Right.
So I was able to take the local dollars that would typically be, you know, spent in an area and move them over.
Do we have some of that still out there like that?
Well, we don't really have anything because the amendment is, you know, we're spending everything.
Right.
But if we get to the end of the year and we didn't spend as much money as we projected in budget amendment number 2, you can expect me to come back to you and say, hey,
Right.
you know, we've got this money that we did not spend and we would like to send it there. Because I remain committed to making this, you know, to fund that unfunded liability as soon as we can.
Right.
Because the sooner we're out from underneath that, the better we can treat everyone that works here. You know, we've got a lot of people that, you know, we closed this defined benefit platform, and we knew that the cost was gonna go up very steeply, and then it's gonna drop down. But we've got a number of folks that are in the defined contribution plan, because everybody that started since 2015, July of 2015 forward, gets the defined contribution. So we have a pay scale that is kept low because of all these expenses, and those folks then aren't able to put as much money away toward their retirement as they should be able to, because we have this huge bill hanging over our head. So I would like to get to the point where we don't have that huge bill, and then we can get those folks that are in the defined contribution at a higher wage so that they can start making more contributions to their retirement. That'll help us retain folks and help us going forward. So if you look at page 39, that will kind of show you where we are today, the 7%. So they are projecting a 7% rate of return on our money, which is, I think, lofty goal.
Yeah.
Bit unrealistic. But if you look at that, so the funded percentage at the top line there is 79%. That's where we would be today if we hadn't sent them all that additional money that's in the surplus fund. And as you can see, it's just going down and down. You go from 79 to 77 to 75 to 73. And the payment in the next column over, that's what we're estimated to pay per year, goes from $548,000 in 2024 to $916,000 in 2029. And, you know, $900,000 is a large chunk of our budget. Now, you know, it's only before we started getting all this COVID money. I mean, we had a $6.5 million budget, and almost $1 million of a $6 million budget is a huge chunk of it that, you know, has to be taken off to pay for these things. So that money that's sitting in the surplus fund is going to help us not have a $900 payment. Because as we move along, that money's going to continue to grow, and we'll start siphoning some of that off to keep this payment less than $900,000, because there's no way we can afford it and still maintain the staff and the programs that we have. So that is kind of the long-range plan. We just have to figure out when is the time that we can't afford it and to start moving that money out and in to help pay this plan, so that it equals out and they kind of come together in come together, so. That's basically the highlight. We are in a really good position, being at 94%. We are much higher than most municipalities. So thank you to your diligent efforts to let us continue moving money to that surplus fund when we have additional funding. It does put us in a much, much better place. So there's no vote required on this. It's for information only. But as you digest this and read through it, if you have a question that you would like Marnie to address when she comes, I will send it to me and I will get it off to her so that we can make sure that she addresses your questions when she gets here.
I always love extra reports. I'm thinking people gotta just be a barrel of fun.
Oh. You know, I just like, you look at it and you read it and you're like, okay, read that again. And trying to understand how they're projecting all of this stuff. I spent a whole day just trying to understand the appendix to the report on how they, you know, because there's one thing here that I just can't wrap my head around it, and I need to reach out to Marnie and get more information. But it says in here, and it throws me for a loop every time I read it. Where's that? Oh, I'm looking at your copy, not the one I have the notes in. Or, I've got all kinds of notes in mine.
You have been really studying.
I have to understand this stuff. That's what you pay me for.
You get paid?
You know, yeah, we're paying you?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see that on the budget. I'm gonna have to look at that again.
Yeah.
It's right there by the bonuses.
Valuation of assets is equal to 1.157666 times the reported market value. I'm like, what kind of math is this? If it's,
I put it in there to see if you actually read it.
It's fuzzy.
yeah, I'm like, how does this make sense? Last year, the valuation of assets compared to market value, it was the assets were valued at lower than the market value at 0.99852. I'm like, what has happened that now, why aren't we using market value? I don't understand this. But I'm working towards
Well,
understanding
if you
it.
understand it and get it figured out, let us know.
I'm working towards it. But I can tell you those actuarial people have very, very complicated things that they figure out that I'm probably not capable of
And they
understanding.
keep adding more GASB things for audits.
They do.
And it's like, I think when I started in this stuff 20-some years ago, was GASB only had like 2 or 3, now they're at 100 and something. I was like, they just add more stuff, that way they can bill you more.
That's right, that's right. All
Well,
right.
you
well,
you
that's-
have anything you want to bring up?
I do not.
Then I move that we adjourn until Thursday,
I will second that.
9 o'clock or something like that, 9:30?
11:29?
9:30.
9.
9, all right.